By not following the 3 principles that I'm about to reveal to you, you will not gain a lot of muscle, because these principles are so crucial, so important to follow in your training to get jacked, that they can make a massive impact when it comes to muscle gain. Here's the thing, once you will hear them, so I could reference a bunch of studies in here and talk about exactly what the science says, but I think that you have already been convinced that these principles are important because they are so well accepted in the fitness space that if you have watched a few videos about fitness in the past, you have heard about them. And that is the thing, not everything that we hear we follow. If you were to follow every piece of advice that you were given that was true and accurate, you would have gotten in a way better shape that you are in today, and you have not, right? So as a result of it, I just want to remind you of a few principles, 3 of them to be more specific, that will completely transform your training. You might be following 2 of them, but by following 1 more of them, by following the 3rd one, the 2nd one, the 1st one, you will gain a lot more muscle mass. And the 3rd one is one that, even though it is pretty obvious, I don't think that a lot of people fully understand how important it is, and also don't follow it to the greatest extent. So let's start the 1st one. Just to demonstrate how important it is, think about one guy. He knows exactly what to do when it comes to training. He follows the other 2 principles that I'm about to reveal to you, and he also keeps track of a decent diet. You know, he does everything right, only that his consistency is not good. He trains every other week, every few weeks he takes a week off, and he's not very consistent in his training. Out of a year, he does not train for 10 weeks. After training like that for a year, how many results would he see? That's my question for you. The answer for it, so I will answer. But before that, I want you to think about it like this. When we train, after training, muscle protein synthesis goes up. As a result of it, hypertrophy occurs, so muscle protein synthesis for the following days after the training session goes higher than muscle protein breakdown. As a result of it, hypertrophy occurs and we build muscle. And guess what? After 3 days, muscle protein breakdown starts to surpass muscle protein synthesis, and muscle mass does not go up significantly. In some cases, after a week of not training, it goes down, and definitely after 2 and 3 and 4 weeks. When one does not train for a week, he does not gain the muscle gain of a week. He does not necessarily don't gain any muscle at all, but he does not gain the muscle gain that he could have achieved in that week. When one does not train for 10 weeks out of a year, he does not get the muscle gain of 10 weeks out of a year. And that's the importance of consistency. If you train for half of a year in total, so 1 week off, 1 week on, you will gain half of the results that you could have achieved. On the other side, if you train for half of the year and for the other half you don't train at all, you regress all the way back. So consistency does make a massive impact. Even when you train consistently, if your consistency is only 50%, so you train 2 times per week instead of 4, you will still diminish your results. It still matters, and that's the 1st principle. It is the consistency one. Now, I won't sit here and tell you to be fanatic about it, because most people can't. Of course most people can't, we all have a fucking life. What I would suggest you to do is to just find a training plan, like a full body split or an upper lower split, that you can follow for at least 90% of the time, because such training plans that can maximize your results when training only 2 or 3 days per week, they exist. And if you will follow them, you will see a lot of results from training. So I want you to find them, and not the other fucking push-pull leg splits that you can't really follow, and you don't follow as a result of it, and you're not that consistent in doing them, and because of that you gain suboptimal amount of muscle mass. Now the 2nd principle, and there is one thing that once you understand how important it is. And you have probably heard about it before, but before I tell you exactly what it is, think about training. What specifically in training causes muscle gain? It's not moving the weight, because one can move very light weights and not gain a lot of muscle, right? It's also not technique. One can train with the greatest technique, moving the lightest weight, and won't gain any muscle. It is forcing adaptation. It is progressively getting stronger throughout the weeks. It is the progressive overload principle, but to be more specific, it is intensity, because intensity is not just about one rep range, it is about getting close to your fullest capabilities. If you don't get close to your fullest capabilities each and every week, if your intensity is very low and you don't really count it at all, then you won't probably gain a lot of muscle because you won't force adaptation. The way to build muscle is to force adaptation. The way to force adaptation is to get stronger throughout the weeks. And the way to get stronger throughout the weeks is to train intensely each and every workout. The second principle is about going each and every workout and taking your sets to a pretty similar intensity. As you can see, not similar weights, not similar reps, intensity. Because as long as the intensity box is ticked off, you will follow the progressive overload principle, because you will force adaptation. And that's how I've managed to build a lot of muscle consistently throughout the last few years. In some of the phases of my training, I didn't fully track progressive overload. I just went to the gym, I tracked my workouts for sure. I just made sure that I trained with a good intensity, and that's what matters the most, because as long as you force adaptation, you will build muscle, and the progressive overload principle will apply by default. Now, the progressive overload principle will not apply if you make one massive mistake. So not following the third principle is such a big mistake that it can completely destroy progressive overload, and it is this. Think about a guy who trains in the gym, trains consistently each and every week, but he doesn't do one very important thing. So his training plan is built in a very bad way. He trains one day chest and the next day he trains chest again, and then he does not train chest for 5 days until he trains chest again. Right? Let's talk about just chest training, like pectorals and triceps and fucking shoulders, a push workout essentially. This way of training will cause them to build muscle for sure. The first workout will cause muscle protein synthesis to spike. The second one, so they both will cause muscle protein synthesis to spike. When we train and we rest for the following 2 days afterward, that's the usual resting period of a training plan, we induce hypertrophy because muscle protein synthesis surpasses muscle protein breakdown because of the time frame for recovery. Essentially, in the first workout, you will go and train, you will induce hypertrophy and damage. In the second workout, the muscle will be damaged, you will be fatigued, and you will induce even more damage. You will induce some hypertrophy for sure. Now, for the 5 days after the second workout, some recovery would be achieved. The muscle will be fully recovered for the next workout for sure, but muscle gain, hypertrophy, might not be achieved, because for hypertrophy to be achieved, muscle protein synthesis should surpass muscle protein breakdown. Now, it might surpass it in some people, but in some other people who were different genetically, it might not. But let's take it up a notch. So in this case, muscle protein synthesis might surpass muscle protein breakdown because of the 5 days resting period. But let's talk about a different training plan. One trains chest each and every day. Right, this is a funny one, this is unrealistic one, this is a dumb one. But let's talk about it, because it is the extreme case of no recovery. Muscle protein synthesis in the first workout will be achieved and fatigue would be accumulated. In the second workout, less hypertrophy would be achieved because of the fatigue, more fatigue would be accumulated. In the third one, again. In the fourth one, again. Fifth one, again. Until muscle loss will certainly occur. And that is the thing. That's one of, if not the most important aspect of training that a lot of people ignore. It is recovery. Recovery is essential. Now, even though you won't probably, if you're pretty smart, not even smart, if you're decently intelligent, go and train the same muscle every single day, you might suffer not recovering to a lower extent. You might not be sleeping enough. So there are two aspects to recovery. Training and recovery, right? The two aspects of it. If you don't get fully recovered after a workout for the next one, you hinder muscle growth. Not to the greatest extent, but to some extent. The way to make sure that you don't that you don't go not fully recovered to the next workout is very simple. It is about mind-muscle connection. If you don't feel fully recovered in your workouts, then that's a clear sign that you are not fully recovered in your workouts, and you should change your training plan, or you should lock in your recovery even more. Your diet, you might need to increase calories a bit and protein a bit. Sleep, you might need to sleep more. Or stress management, you might need to, manage your stress better. That's a sign that you need to either increase recovery or reduce training. And by doing so, you will force more adaptation, hypertrophy will go up, and you will build a lot more muscle. And that's amazing. And that's essentially it. If you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.